5, be number 2, following company for the quartermast climb. All right, here we go.
Against me, and gravity wants to bring me down. Oh, I'll never know what makes this man with all the love that his heart can stand. Dream of ways to throw it all away. Whoa, whoa. Gravity is working against
All right,
me.
as we exit the canyon here, be looking for wildlife: bighorn sheep, mountain goats, mountain lion, deer, elk, wild horses, donkey, cattle, buffalo, wild pigs, coyotes, and foxes. Foxy, a foxy like that. Bow, wow, 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 wow. Never know what might find.
Can't sustain like one half could.
We are mile high above sea level here, so they do get snow up here in the wintertime, believe it or not. In the summer up here, it's 42 degrees Celsius. In the wintertime, it's about 6 or so below 0 Celsius, so it's cold up here in the winter, it's hot up here in the summer. So you imagine this, right? Late 1400s, the natives were walking along this area, had no idea the canyon was there. And you could look over to the right and you could see the gap because we're so far above the ground right now. But the natives would have never been able to see that. So they were just walking along and they could just see those plateaus on the other side, thinking they'd all connected. So imagine what it must have felt like when they got there and saw the big drop. Probably pretty breathtaking.
It's gonna send me to my knees. Whoa, whoa. Gravity, stay the hell away from me. Whoa, whoa. Gravity has taken better men than me.
Usually our cows are down here, but they've been missing the last few days. They must have got lost. They're running out of water again already. That little pond back there usually stays full through the whole year, but the last couple years. It's bad when the cows have no water. That one's empty too. That one usually has water in it. As we come over this hill, there's like a set of Joshua trees which can only be found in Arizona, Nevada, California deserts. They are really rare. They actually believe they came from lily plants prehistorically, and when the lilies dried up, the Joshua tree evolved. It takes 80 years for the Joshua tree to become 3 feet tall, and they grow a big white flower every other spring, so they'll be blooming any time now. But these are them. They're kind of weird prehistoric looking trees. The Mormons named the Joshua tree. They said it looked like somebody standing on the hillside with their arms in a V, so they said it must have been Joshua from the Bible. All the roundish trees, the pine-ish kind of looking trees, in there are pinyon pine trees and mesquite trees. So. So there's that little nudist colony I joked about. It's not really a nudist colony after all. Meadview. The town of Meadview was built in the 1940s. They told the people of Meadview if they came out here and bought land, they'd have a view of the brand new Lake Mead. So the people thought they'd get a view of the lake, move out here, and when they got here, they realized they'd been duped. There was no view of the lake whatsoever. As you can see, all the terrain slopes upward, and where the houses are situated, no view of the lake. So the people got the word out eventually that Meadview was a hoax, but it took about 80 years, or I'm sorry, 70 years for the people to really realize how duped they were. They still haven't put paved roads out here, and there's about 3 of them, the main roads, but the rest of them are just dirt roads. And it's an hour-and-a-half drive that way to Kingman, Arizona, where the kids have to go to school on a bus every day, each direction. Nothing around good old Meadview, so these poor people were duped into buying this land. There are a few people who bought some land up on the hillside, as you can see, and they definitely have a view of the lake, but everybody else, not so much. We got a nice view of the lake, though, so hey, they should have got a higher elevation. But the lake has 3 basins: the Colorado River Basin, which is right here, the Virgin River Basin, which is the one in the middle, and then the one we started off by the Hoover Dam, the Boulder Basin. Colorado River Basin's the smallest, and it's where the Colorado River feeds into. Coming out of the Colorado Rockies, doing about 90% of filling the lake up. The river has a journey of about 1,450 miles, starting as snowfall, making its way through Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and California. 5 states crossing the border of Mexico, down to the Gulf of California, where it becomes salt water. So from snow to salt water, it takes it about 1 year rather, for 1,450 miles, starting as snowfall, ending as salt water. So quite a journey for the Colorado River. The snow-capped mountain, which the Las Vegas River runs off of, and the Virgin River and rain make up the other 10% of the lake being filled up. The Virgin River comes into the basin where the wishbone looking area is. That's the Virgin River Basin, and upstream about 35 miles is where the Virgin River would meet the lake. Upstream about 30 miles is a town called St. Thomas. St. Thomas is no longer. St. Thomas was on the water's edge of the river back in the 17 and 1800s. It was a place where settlers would stop on their way to Vegas or on their way from Vegas. It was on the edge of the river. It had water, it had food, and it had a little community to take care of you while you were there for a few days resting. The people that lived there were mostly Mormon, and there were about 100 of them. And when they made the Hoover Dam and started filling up the lake, the government knew that St. Thomas would end up underwater. So the government relocated the people of St. Thomas to elsewhere, and St. Thomas went underwater in 1942, where it remained underwater until about 3 years ago, when it came back from underwater for the first time since then. So you can actually go up there if you have a car. Actually, when you're near the Valley of Fire, you're going to be very close to St. Thomas. So if you can remember, if you have time, if you can squirt over there and check it out, it's really kind of neat. You go check out the old ruins of St. Thomas. If not, you can just look it up on the internet. Look up St. Thomas Lake Mead and you'll see the pictures. But pretty neat little community that was once there, kind of neat history. In the middle of the lake, over there, at the bottom, is a B-29 Super Fortress that crashed in 1947. World War II was kind of over at that time, but they were still using the lake to train the pilots. And in 1947, a B-29 was out here doing maneuvers over the lake. The crew of 5 got disoriented and crashed the plane in the lake. Now, they all 5 survived. They got out. They swam away. The plane sunk. They rescued the 5 crew members, and they asked them when they rescued them why they crashed the plane. And they said, well, as they were over the water, it was a perfectly clear day. No clouds in the sky, no wind on the water. The reflection of the sky and the water, they lost their depth perception. They didn't realize they were that close to the water. So they just kind of flew the plane right into the lake. As the plane touched the surface of the water, that freaked them out. They pulled up on the plane, it stalled, and all they could do is level and land. They did a good enough landing, they survived. And it's a good thing because one of the 5 crew members was my grandfather, and he told me the story. I'm joking. I don't know why everybody falls for that one, though. It wasn't really my grandfather. The rest of the story is true, though. The plane is at the bottom of the lake. Today, the plane is in 65 feet of water. When it crashed, originally it sunk to about 210 feet of water. So we've had a lot of people scuba diving down to the wreck over the last few years with the lake being so low. And they've actually found something in the wreck of the plane nobody had ever found before. Last summer, my grandfather. No, it was an alien. It got out of Area 51 sitting there. No, there was nothing in the plane. But if you go to Google, you can do it on your black van ride home. Go to Google, check out St. Thomas, and check out Lake Mead underwater planes. So check those 2 things out. It's pretty interesting. The blue boathouse is over there for Temple Bar Marina. There is Temple Bar Marina. If you guys are interested, we could stop and get a Bloody Mary and a hamburger right now. I don't know who's going to fly us home after I have a Bloody Mary. I can have one, I just can't have 2. I've already had one today. And I can't watch you guys drink one. That's not fair. No, but they are pretty good there. Lady's been making Bloody Marys there for like 40 some odd years. So you can see the terrain relief out here now that we're kind of closer to the ground. It makes real pretty scenery. Those clouds are cool. They make for a really neat area. If you can see out there about 2:30, you see the tinge of red on the top of the mountains way out there, black mountains and then brown mountains and the tinge of red on the red mountains. That's almost the Valley of Fire. The Valley of Fire is tucked back a little bit further behind there, but that's about where you're going to be going. that starts it where that tinge of red is up there. That starts it, and then it gets really, really nice once you get further back that way. These clouds are cool, aren't they? Kind of make a neat picture right there. What a beautiful place. I tell you what, the desert, it grows on you after a while. At first you move here and you're like, you're here for a couple months, you're like, man, this place is so ugly. Because it's really neat at first when you first get here, and then you're here and everything looks the same. And then after you actually realize nothing ever looks the same, you start to really appreciate it. I always tell people, if you could make it through 2 summers in the desert in Vegas, you could live here for the rest of your life. Because the summers will kill you, they're hot. But I absolutely love it. So much to do. You got snow sports, water sports, desert sports, shoot your gun, ride your ATV, ride horses, you know, whatever you want to do, you can do it all. Now, the next area we're going to see I refer to as the Badlands. Everything we've seen so far for the water and how much it's dropped has been from a vertical perspective. You know, that 125-foot line looks like 8 or 10 inches from way up there. And I told you before, we're moving along pretty fast, even though it feels like we're not. We're doing about 125, 130 miles an hour. So we're moving pretty good along the ground. And that just means we're covering a mile in about 28 seconds. So this is going to give you a perspective in horizontal reference how much the water's gone down. This mountain range right here, this hill range, is like the stop point of where the water ever would have been. So you can see how it's a little light brown, and then dark brown, and then white. So wherever it's light brown, maybe if there was some flooding or something, the water took a while to drain, it would pool around here for a little while. Everything that's dark brown was always above water, and as we move, it gets lighter and lighter to almost a white color. So that is where the water would have been, water would have been on top of the surface more. So all this stuff would have been underwater all the time. And you guys can see there's like a dry river or a wash right here coming from left to right. We're going to cross right over the front of it. That is like the dividing line. That's where the lake ended right there. And from there to the river, or from there to the water, is about a mile. So you get a pretty good idea of how far the water's gone down now as we start to move forward towards the lake. And then as we get there, you can see this terrain that's sticking up. It's only sticking up about 50 to 60 feet, so it's not even up that high. So about half of how high it is normally. So yeah, it kind of gives you a perspective of how low the water really is. This bay is called Benelli Bay. In the 1800s, as the horses and carriages were coming through here north and south, they wanted to stay by the rivers, the Colorado and the Virgin. A guy by the name of John Benelli started a river raft company because this was the easiest place to cross. It was nice and flat instead of trying to go over all the terrain. So he started his river raft company, called it the Benelli Raft Company. He picked the people up on that side, bring them to this side, or vice versa. So they named this bay Benelli Bay in honor of him. Now this bay is famous today for Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee's movie that they did back in the late 90s, if you ever heard of it. If not, don't look that one up on the video, on the van ride home. So it's kind of interesting as you fly out here all the time. You know, you see the same thing over and over again. It's hard to tell if there's really much change going on. So we try our best to pick things out. And this island is a good one that we've started using. Just a few months ago, the water wasn't even up in the middle there. It was just one big, huge island. And now it's just almost about to touch there in the middle. So it's about to break it in two, which is really good because that means the water is obviously coming up. And for this time of year, the water doesn't typically come up this time of year. It's not usually until like May, because we got to wait for the snowfall to melt in the Colorado Rockies. But they've had such a good snowfall year and so much rain at the lower elevations has actually filled the lake up early. And the visibility on the lake is absolutely stunning right now because usually you can't even see more than 10 or 15 feet down into the water, but right there near the shores and stuff, you can see they're pretty deep. About 2 o'clock over there in the brownish mountains, you see that greenish blue color. That greenish blue color is copper that's oxidized over time, so you're just looking at basically the rust formation on copper. And if you look on the left, that's what the copper looks like raw, that really brown, that really bronzy looking color out there up this middle. Just on the other side of the mountain is the road that takes you back to the Valley of Fire, so you guys will drive all through that area tomorrow. It's beautiful. There's our snow ski resort way up there. There's Vegas coming into view. Vegas is about 35 miles from right here. And the Valley of Vegas is 50 miles by 50 miles square with about 2 million residents and about 40 million visitors a year. In perspective, in 1995, they had a population of 250,000 people living in Vegas with about 3 million visitors a year. So that's a big reason why the lake's gone down. It's got to, now that the population and the tourism stabilized, maybe the lake will start going up a little bit. Stratosphere straight ahead all the way down to Mandalay Bay, 8 miles across the strip from one end to the other. And have you guys been to Old Town or Downtown or Fremont Street yet? No? I call it Freakmont Street. This is where all the weird people go hang out, so I'm there nightly. Yeah, I love it down there. It's so much fun. I always recommend everybody go down there. It's completely a different feel than the Vegas Strip. They have a big roof over the top of Fremont Street that they light up with a light show and music video every hour after dark. They have 2 zip lines down there. One you sit on, it's $20. One you lay on, it's $40. They have 3 stages out there that they do live entertainment on, one of them almost every single night. So, and then all the Vegas locals hang out down there, so it's weird. But it's a lot of fun. I always recommend everybody go at least spend one evening down there because it's just, it is where Vegas started, so the history there is cool. All those old movies from the Western movies and stuff with, like, mostly everybody remembers the waving cowboy, Vegas Vic. He's down there in Fremont Street, so he's old now, though, so his elbow's broken. He just doesn't wave anymore. He just has his hand up. That's it. Sorry about that. I thought you were sleeping for a second there, Barbara. No? You're all right. I thought you were so relaxed you just took a nap. That happens sometimes. It's either that you're so relaxed you took a nap or I really bored you to death. There's that bowl of fire again where I told you they made the movies that took place on Mars straight out the right door there. This area that we're flying through is called the Narrows. The lake never got wider here. It would have just been the river if you took the lake away. The only difference is the river climbed the side of the rock. So, and then the river would make a big left turn here. Now, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, they got really worried about the lake getting empty and not being able to provide water. So out there, kind of where that one boat is over there, and this boat kind of split the difference between the two of them. There's a big pipe they dredged to the bottom, and they put a big pipe in there, a big suction pipe, and they piped it over to the water treatment plant. So that way, if the lake does ever go empty, there is a way to suck water out of the middle of the river still for eternity, I guess, or until the river goes empty. Somebody asked me yesterday, well, why don't they just shut the doors of the dam and let the lake fill back up? Well, that would cut power to about 14 million people in Los Angeles, California, so that's why. Otherwise, they're going to have to pay a lot more for their power, one or the other. They made the dam back in the 30s primarily two reasons: to make power to go to Los Angeles and to irrigate farmland south of here. And when they did that, they ran in the 1940s, 1930s they started, 1930s, 1940s, they ran power lines from the dam about 300 miles to the west, through the mountains, through the hills, all the way to Los Angeles. So it's pretty impressive that long ago they did all that work. And that stuff's still there supplying power to LA. In 1930, in perspective, there were about 3,000 people in Las Vegas, so people weren't in Vegas then. And most of the people were here to work on the dam and to help do the power lines. They weren't here to live. So when they finished the project of the dam in Boulder City, is where most of the workers were, the government said, hey, you guys want to stay here? You can buy these houses because we can't do anything with them. We'll sell them to you for $1. And at that time, they said, no way. They took off. Today, those houses are worth like $300,000. So that's a return on your investment. Interestingly enough, the project was, I told you earlier, 31 to 35. It was done ahead of schedule and under budget. And today, in the United States, it's still the only government project ever finished ahead of schedule and under budget. And the reason is, they were in the desert. They're like, nope, we got to get the hell out of here. Let's get this thing finished. So they worked really hard. The first death and the last death of the dam project were a father and son combination, exactly to the day, 10 years apart. So that's kind of interesting. The father was scuba diving, doing some underwater reconnaissance, and got trapped on a rock and ran out of air. And then his son had an accident on the dam 10 years later to the exact day. They were the first and last deaths of the dam. So there's the Memorial Bridge again out there on our left, the 900-foot tall bridge. And you can see on this side of the bridge, there's a squiggly line that goes down. That's a parking lot down there. You can actually go drive over there, park, and then walk up that squiggly line, go stand on the bridge and take pictures of the dam from there. And there's two concrete dividers, one so you don't fall off and one so you don't get hit by cars. Very important. The crane-looking thing off the mountains, it's sucking the water into the water treatment plant, sending it to you in Vegas. There's the airport. There's an airplane on its way. So the next few minutes I'll be busy talking to the airport at Boulder City, getting us in there. You guys sit back, relax, enjoy the last little bit of the flight, take a beautiful view of Vegas, and then when we make that last left turn over the mountains, take a view of that Cascada golf course, which will be out your right. And it'll look like it's not even real grass, but it is, I promise. Over Boulder Beach, 4,000, and northbound. Boulder City traffic, 315 behind company. Over Boulder Beach, 4,000, number 2, going to be coming in from the northwest. Boulder City traffic.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question, but a lesson learned in time.
Boulder traffic, 31.5, mile northwest of Boulder, VOR 3700. Left downwind behind company for 33.
Time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind.
Guy Hawk on a 4-mile final for 3-3. I heard it will be there way before he is. Yeah, I'm wondering about that other guy coming in on 2-7. He's already on the ground. Yeah, but he's about to be right there. Yeah, but I wonder if the others are coming in the same way. Yeah, 2 different runways.
You had the time of your life.
All right, looks like we're gonna make it. Looks like there'll be a wedding. Thank you guys so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Get us in here safely. Put your pictures on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Tag Serenity Helicopters Las Vegas.
Predictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had that time of your life.
You guys, also, if you go to TripAdvisor, please leave us a review. I'm Jim. I was your pilot, your tour guide, and your host, and you had Matt and Stewie drive you today. Up front, the lovely people getting you ready. You had Gloria's not there today. Jennifer, Teddy, and Jared getting you ready for the flight. Couldn't do it without the entire crew, so thanks so much for coming out. When we get out of here, I will get those other 2 meals that we have left behind for Barbara, Maureen, and they'll take you inside. Right before you go inside, there is a little basket to deposit those yellow vests, so that way you don't have to take them with you all the way to Vegas and get made fun of by everybody in Vegas. There's also a guest book inside. I always ask everybody to please sign the guest book at the end of the day. I like to read what you guys have to say. If you don't go to TripAdvisor, it's the only way I can gauge how I've been doing. So say something nice, put your name, put where you're from, and if you don't say something nice, well, you just put where you're from, and I'm going to come find you. Thank you guys so much. Best of luck tomorrow on the wedding, and thanks for coming out. You guys were a great crowd. I promise, Maureen, I will put I'm on the Edge by Lady Gaga.